Well, hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Jetumobi, coming to you all the way from the Expo Center, Eco Hotel and Suites on Victoria Island here in Lagos, the southwest region of Nigeria. And it is the Lagos State Economic Summit 2012. It's the sixth edition of that summit, and all the big names in Lagos State, including His Excellency the Governor, Babatunde Raji Fashola, are all here to see the way forward. Well, don't forget that His Excellency has announced that Lagos holds the key, and incidentally, that is the focus of this summit this year. They say that they're moving from bricks to brinks, hoping that Lagos, representing Nigeria, will be one of the countries that will form the BRICS now. They say there are also so many investment opportunities, but this year, 2012, the focus is on power, agriculture and agro-allied services, transportation and housing, that they call PATH. Now, what does Ehingbeti 2012 offer?
The theme for Ehingbeti 2012 is From Bricks to Brinks, Lagos holds the key. This is in realization of the importance of Lagos State to the Nigerian economy. We believe that if Nigeria is going to become a major emerging market, then Lagos must be central to that strategy. This year, we shall focus on 4 key areas, namely power, agriculture, transportation, and housing.
What Lagos State has done is get all kinds of speakers from all over the world, people who have been put in the kind of situation we are in Lagos, to come and share their experiences and tell us how they have faced their challenges in their own environments. Huge potentials, they say, for real estate investors in housing. The state government alone targeting 1 million housing units for the people of Lagos State, and the state government insists that its most precious resource is the human resource in Lagos. You can't beat the population of Lagos State now. Depending on where you are sitting, the population is deemed to be anything from 10 million to 13 million people. So if you're an investor looking for returns on your investment, a population of 10 to 13 million will come in handy for you.
We have been driven by our imagination and the desire to transform Lagos into what we firmly believe is infinitely possible, Africa's model megacity. We imagine what Lagos will be when all our efforts begin to crystallize, and that vision keeps us going. One of the vehicles through which we have kept this dream alive is the reason we are gathered here today. The first 3 editions of Ehingbeti were, as I have said, deliberately diagnostic. We took the view that the challenges needed to be properly identified and articulated, so that short, medium, and long-term solutions could be found for them. And this is what we sought to do by consulting far and near.
Now, let me tell you a little bit about Lagos State before we go into the summit proper. It was created May 27, 1967. It was a protectorate at the time, with a landmass of over 3,000 square kilometers. It was the capital city of Nigeria before the capital was moved to Abuja, which is now the Federal Capital Territory. But Lagos remains the commercial capital of the country, and that's why they say Lagos holds the key. This is the only state where 65% of its revenue is obtained from internally generated revenue. And of course, that must have something to do with the numbers, the population that we have here. Now, In terms of natural resources, Lagos is blessed with bitumen, clay, and glass sand. Now, those are the three main resources, but it's a coastal city surrounded by water. So, of course, tourism is big, and we have over 5 beaches in Lagos State. There's a Bar Beach, Badagry Beach, Ibeshe Beach, there's a Whispering Palms Resort, and of course, the first story building ever built in Nigeria is in Lagos, in Badagry, a suburb of Lagos. We have, of course, the Lekki Peninsula. We have also Takwa Bay, the Muritala Mohammed Botanical Gardens. These are all tourist attractions in the state. The National Museum in Onikon, that's on Lagos Island itself. Relics of slavery, the slave trade, all those relics still remain in Badagry as well. Tafawa Balewa Square, that's in Onikon in the center of Lagos. And of course the National Theatre. It's a big structure we have here. It is a focus for all the actors and actresses we have based in Lagos. The focal point there, the National Theatre. So there you have it. On this occasion of the 6th Lagos Economic Summit 2012, holding here at the Expo Center, Eco Hotels and Suites on Victoria Island, Lagos. And we say from bricks to brinks, Lagos holds the key. What does that mean? These are the questions we'll be putting to His Excellency today as he seeks to clarify for us what he means or what we mean by Lagos holding the key. Okay, Your Excellency, I wanted to start off from a statement I've heard you say often, that one of the greatest resources we have in Lagos is the population. And as I listened to all the speakers, especially the Commissioner for Economic Planning in the main hall, I thought to myself, as we prepare for investors, are the people of Lagos prepared? And I'm asking that question because there is sometimes a cynicism or an initial resistance to change. You recall when you started the beautification of Lagos, a lot of Lagosians thought, is it flowers we will eat? So as you prepare now to bring investment in and investors are looking here, are we sure that Lagosians are ready for this big change?
Well, I think that the sense of excitement that you will have noticed in the economy here is very strongly indicative of the readiness of the Lagos business community and the Lagos Corporate Assembly to expand upon the scope of the investments that they have made.
Yeah.
And perhaps I need only reiterate that what we seek to do is not just to bring investment here, but to point the way, really, about the sectors where this government will be aggressively exerting itself. And we do this very deliberately. We've seen the growth predictions in many sectors of the Nigerian economy, which we are an integral part of.
Yes.
But we also hear very clearly the complaints about the lack of employment for our very young population. And we think that the most important sectors that have the capacity to respond to this, if we lift them off, is power, agriculture, transportation, and housing. And this is so because they in themselves, if they begin to run optimally, have an inherent knock-on effect in enabling other sectors find their feet. If you have power, I mean, it's a no-brainer what will happen to this economy. The latent opportunities that are not yet even within contemplation will simply find their way out, as you would agriculture, the entire value chain, as you would an efficient transportation system that reduces cost of transportation, that ultimately makes goods and services easier to access, and what that would do to the disposable income of the ordinary citizen. And of course, you can only imagine, as I said this morning, what will happen if we were constructing 1 million housing units simultaneously, what that would do to this economy.
Okay, and so as we wait for this investment to come, one of the things that people want to know are the incentives that are going to be available as you're inviting people in. Are there going to be tax incentives to make the transition, easier for them when they come in?
Well, as you would know, no state in this country collects the taxes on the profits of corporations. Those taxes are collected by the federal government, and I'm very delighted to have with me this morning the Honorable Minister for Trade and Investment, who is representing the President, Mr. Olusegun Agaga. I'm sure he will speak to issues of the tax policies and incentives and that the federal government has put in place. But let me, of course, recap some of the things that he mentioned this morning in his speech. The president's speech that he delivered was the business improvement of the business regime, issuance of visas at the port of entry to investors on a reciprocal basis.
Okay. What does that mean? What do you mean by on a reciprocal basis?
Well, my understanding is that this will be done by countries who give us the same privilege in their jurisdiction at their point of entry. But at the Lagos end, there is a free trade zone, and of course, free trade zones are also regulated by national legislation. But the Lagos Free Trade Zone offers investment incentives which are being codified at this moment for investors who invest in the Lagos Free Trade Zone and indeed other free trade zones in other parts of the country.
Okay. Now, as a subnational economy, Lagos is regarded as standing in the place of the 4th largest economy in Africa. The question is, how do you intend to leverage this to make Lagos an economic force among the BRICS when we eventually get there?
Well, again, the BRIC nations are sovereigns, and therefore, in that sense, they have rights and privileges that a subnational like Lagos will never have.
Yeah.
But our role here is a recognition of the commercial leverage that we represent for Nigeria, its population, and of course Nigeria's role not only on the African continent but in the global economic space. And we are convinced, and as you heard also from the federal government, that this is the critical lever that needs to work if all other levers of opportunities in the Nigerian nation must run and turn optimally. And therefore, we in a sense are the locomotive that will drive the train of Nigeria's new prosperity and opportunities.
And I wonder where we are with the demand for making Lagos, recognizing Lagos as a special, a special place. Will that help in this drive for investment if Lagos is recognized specially?
I think beyond recognition, it is treatment, really, and the kind of support, the kind of commitment and investment that I would love to see from the national government in Lagos is an investment in the enlightened common interest.
Yes.
Because the fortunes of so many people from so many parts of this country are tied to assets and investments and opportunities that are bound here, and also that project collaterally across the sub-region, the southwest sub-region of the country. So beyond recognition, really, what I would love to see more, what I think would be much more impactful if our objectives, national objectives for 2020 are going to be met, is to push this lever, the front door, the front desk of the Nigerian business house,
Yes.
forward with everybody's support behind it, so that it would inure for the benefit of the country as a whole.
Okay. And what regulatory frameworks are you putting in place to give investors confidence that in Lagos at least we won't have policy reversals or policy flip-flops?
Well, I don't think, I think the first thing to say is that time after time, we have demonstrated the value now of a consistency of policy. Actors on the policy formulation desk will come and go. But what we have demonstrated here is the commitment of the entire team, of the entire state government to policies that it makes. Of course, policies are also not cast in stone. The fluid nature of life, the fluid nature of the people for whom policies are made, demand that they be reviewed from time to time. And the institutions that are in place, a very strong judiciary, an independent press, a strong PPP office, clearly guarantee to people who do business with us that not only will they have the best of services, the courtesy and the civility that is required to do this, they also now form the impression that should there be a dispute, as there will be,
yes,
in business transactions, they will be dealt with in a very efficient and business-like manner by a judiciary that is independent, and they've seen government responding. And if we are aggrieved at any time, of course, we would also use the instrumentality of the judiciary, and that is what you really need. And with strong democratic practices, yes, the necessary institutions for doing what we need to do, for promoting prosperity, for attracting investment, for interacting with the private sector, I think very, very well in place. What we need to do now is to reinforce them going forward.
All right, so I think I'll let you go now. So your colleagues and the other key speakers will probably join you later when we've finished with them. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you. Yes, you're free. It is Lagos Economic Summit 2012. His Excellency the Governor has declared this event open. The date is Monday, April 23rd. This summit will run for 3 days. It will conclude on Wednesday, April 25th. And we're hoping that at the end of it all, people who want to bring in their money to invest in Lagos State will find avenues in those 4 areas they're focusing on. Let me remind you again, the focus is on power, that's electricity, as Lagos is hoping to generate over 11,000 megawatts of electricity to take care of its domestic needs. Of course, we have agriculture and agro-allied business. Lagos is fertile land, the soil is loamy, it is surrounded by water. Agriculture is a veritable alternative, especially in a state such as this that is heavily populated. And of course, we have transport. The state government has invested a lot in transport as we seek to take all that focus off the roads. We're looking at transport by water, transport by rail. There are over 35 ferry routes for investors to snap. You don't have to stay on one route. There are over 35 for you to spread your business around. There are over 10 BRT routes. Now, the BRT is the bus transportation system that runs around Lagos. That has been in existence for over 2 years now, but the state government is still hoping to expand and taking all the suburbs that surround Lagos. So 10 routes there for anyone hoping to invest in the bus business. Of course, we have 7 metro, light metro rail corridors already, some being built all the way from Badagry into town. We're looking at how we can move goods and services around the state from outside the state and in, easily move people around easily as well. And in housing, over 1 million units, Lagos is aggressively delivering homes ever since the state government passed into law the new tenancy law, where it made it illegal for anyone to obtain rent in advance or obtain rent more than a year. The government has realized that it has to put his money where his mouth is. You can't legislate on something when you're not providing an alternative. Of course, the state governor himself, a senior advocate of Nigeria, stepped in and said, well, the way to go is mortgages. So we're taking off with the Lagos Home Ownership Mortgage Scheme. That is already in place. The state government hopes to bring in the private sector to help to drive that mortgage scheme. And of course, we have opportunities. There's land for equity. There are all kinds of incentives available for you here in Lagos. So all will be discussed. If you're looking to invest in Lagos State Economic Summit 2012 is the place to be. You've made many trips outside this country targeted at attracting investment, foreign direct investment into Nigeria. How supportive will the federal government be of the efforts of Lagos State in this direction, especially with what we're doing with the Lagos Economic Summit and considering the strategic place that Lagos holds in Nigeria? What kind of support can we expect from the federal government? And I'm asking that question because once upon a time, people who live in Lagos determined that there was hostility from the federal government as far as developmental projects and things that will benefit them in Lagos individually. So we want to know how the federal government will support us here.
Well, if you listen to the president's speech today, this morning, you'll see there's many areas where the federal government is supportive. We believe and we know that the cooperation between the federal government and the Lagos State government is critical to the economic development of the country.
Okay.
And I made that clear by saying Lagos State contributes close to about 20% of the total GDP of the country.
Okay.
About 59% of the GDP of the country minus oil and agriculture. So it's critical. And in terms of consumption,
yes,
Lagos State has the highest. So we have to. There's no doubt about it. My presence here, the presence of the president and the presence of the Minister of Trade and Investment here demonstrates that. Now, if you look at all the things we have been looking at, even in terms of the support for Lagos State, I did talk about the railway.
Yes.
That we're giving 2 right-of-ways to Lagos State to develop their infrastructure in terms of train. We're at advanced stages of concluding that discussion.
Yes.
So we will be extremely supportive of Lagos State and any other state. In fact, all the states government. Our job is to create that enabling environment.
Yes.
And by the way, and make sure that we have growth, regional growth across the board, not just Lagos State. Ehingbeti State, Ogun State, Taraba State, Gombe State, Akwa Ibom State, Cross River State. I speak to the governors regularly because it's my job to work with them to make sure that we promote growth in their states.
Okay, so let me put you on the spot. Will you guarantee that the federal government, anytime Lagos State has a sovereign guarantee, the federal government will support us?
Now, what do you mean by sovereign guarantee?
If we're talking with international investors and we need the federal government to back us up on this deal, can you guarantee that we will have that?
We know, if you look at the transformation agenda,
yes,
we need 35 trillion naira to accomplish it.
Yeah.
We have assumed that 10 trillion of that will come from federal government,
okay,
9 from the state government,
yeah,
which means you're looking for 16 trillion for
yes,
the private sector. So for us to succeed
in that
is important. And investments are not coming to Abuja, they're coming to the state government.
Right.
We have to work with the state government. So my answer,
yeah,
short answer to you is Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, absolutely, yes. Now, give us a sense from all your travels, the feelers you get from the international community as regards Lagos State. Do you think that we're doing the right thing, we're on the right path, and we will see an influx of the investments we're looking for in the state?
You see, Raza talked about it earlier.
Yes.
She talked about governance, she talked about sustained policies and all that. Investors look for two, three things. They're looking for investment climate,
Okay.
that you have a very good investment climate.
Do we have one in Lagos?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're looking for returns, high returns, relatively higher returns. So if you're looking at emerging markets, you're looking at 25 to 30%, not
Okay.
5%. And if you look at the returns outside Nigeria, look at the developing economies, it's less than 2% in most cases. So the interest and momentum is very, very strong. I've been to about 10 countries this year.
Yeah.
I just came back from Germany 2 days ago. I was in South Korea, China, Brazil, Australia, everywhere. And the momentum is very, very strong. People want to invest in Nigeria. We're talking about the ferries.
Yes.
When I was in Australia, the people who are doing the ferry spoke to me when we went to Australia.
Yes.
So, and they told me about the Lagos State potential and all that. So, Lagos State does not have that much problem in terms of attracting investment.
Okay.
A, because you have the right investment climate. The governor is driving this personally. The returns are higher. If you look at the other states, for example, I'll give you an example, Ogun State, for example.
Yes.
I have no problems sending any investor to Ogun State.
Why not?
Because the investment climate is right, and when there are issues, I recall there was one issue in Ogun State. An investor spoke to me. I called the Ogun State governor. He was not in the country. Spoke to him. That matter was abroad. That matter was resolved within days, and they kept me posted. Now everyone, and he is personally leading that effort. Ehingbeti governor is leading that effort.
Yes.
He was in Washington last week. That is what has changed about the country. The president was in Germany, leading the effort, talking to the chancellor, hosting private sector CEO breakfast session, which I hosted about 3 days ago. So it's really coming from the leadership. And I think all the governments, federal government, state government, we're all working together.
Okay.
And I think it is for the good of the whole country.
Okay. Earlier on, you talked about regionalism. I just wanted to gather your thoughts. Is the federal government supportive of this move now towards the regions as the states gather now to form stronger regions? Is the federal government supportive of that?
Now, I have to convince whether I'm wearing the hat of the president or I'm wearing the hat of the Minister of Trade and Investment. That question is for the president.
Okay.
I just reassured the governor that I was wearing the hat of the president for half an hour, not more than that. So I will pass that on to the president.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. My next set of questions will be directed at Bill Richardson. He was Secretary for Energy, former governor of New Mexico. He's been 2 terms as governor of New Mexico. So the first thing is, you've been governor for 2 terms. What relevant experiences do you think you can share with us in Lagos State as we seek these investments to come in?
What I believe is most important, we can talk about the economy, matrices, we can talk about incentives, but I think what is most important in attracting investment is leadership. Human beings that are leading. And I'm very impressed with the leadership here. And I say this even though I only met the governor yesterday. But here was a man who, in the course of a Sunday, had returned from an overseas trip. He'd been at a wedding, he said, of somebody from the north and the south, which maybe years ago hadn't happened. And he met me, an official visit. It was 7 o'clock at night. I like what he said to me. He cared about the safety of the citizens. That was a big priority. He also said something that I think is essential. Yes, it's important to attract the General Electrics, the big companies, but you've got to take care of the local businesses, the shopkeepers, the local economy. What else can I share as a former governor? One is the relationship with the federal government, and I think the Secretary of Investment and Trade has been very positive and open. That is key. You are the biggest community, the biggest city, and it's important sometimes that you flex your muscles
Yeah.
because a lot of revenue comes from here, a lot of expertise, and I think that's important. Third, the regulatory environment. I think it's important that there be certainty for investors, there be consistency, that the state government be pro-business. You mentioned tax incentives. That's good. You can have local tax incentives to attract new businesses. In my state, we went after the movie industry. We wanted a lot of movies to be filmed in my state. And so we gave them investments and tax incentives and free state land, and it brought jobs to a lot of people. Fourth, I think as green as you can be, I found that in our relationship with the federal government, if the federal government wasn't going to be green and energy sustainable and energy efficient, we would do it. And I see this happening here.
Yeah.
My last point is going to be education, human capital, good schools, good teachers, vocational training, a good community system. I know you've got a lot of industry here, electricity coming, power plants, ports, but you got to have the people. Young people need jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I came in from the airport yesterday. No traffic problem. That's big. I guess you do have it sometimes. But there wasn't any. But there were some young kids coming up to my window in the car, basically asking for food or money. Young kids, and this is something that is in many cities. But I think if we go after education, make our schools better, invest in people. But I'm very pleased to be here. I'm a guest. I've been to Nigeria many times, but I'm impressed with what I've heard at the summit. And I think the professor, the young lady who spoke about becoming a BRICS nation, I think Nigeria, it'll happen soon.
It will happen
And
soon.
you deserve it. You're the biggest country in Africa, the most populous,
All right.
the youngest population. You've got energy, but most important, you have people, human capital. You've got good, hardworking people.
Okay.
And again, thank you. And Governor, thank you for the invitation. Number one, leadership, people, and I think you have it. So I'm very happy to be here.
All right. I just want to take you back something you talked about. You said even in our relationship with the federal government, we need to flex our muscles. Did you ever have to flex your muscles as governor, and did you win?
I flex my muscles and I always won. No, I did. I would say to them, look, we have 5 military bases here. We've taken some of the low-level waste from other parts of America, low-level nuclear waste. We want roads. We want to be not rewarded, but we want a fair shot. And at the same time, we also said we're ready to contribute to the good of the country. But just because we're small, we're not as big as Lagos State. We want that flexibility, and if you don't give it to us, we will go to the Congress and fight for it, or we will sue you. And we didn't have to do that much, but yeah, you sometimes have to flex your muscles, because if you're giving a proportionate amount of resources and people, the federal government should recognize that and should treat you right.
Now, as far as the power sector is concerned, that's in terms of electricity. How can you help attract investment? What advice can you give us to attract investment specifically from the United States into the power sector?
Well, the first thing I would do, this is separate, but I know as a former Secretary of Energy, the Niger Delta. And I think one of the main things that the president is trying to do here is get more resources to the Niger Delta where this energy is produced and to clean it up. I think that's very important. That'll send a very positive image to investors around the world that the equity in energy is happening here in Nigeria. Secondly, a good regulatory environment. You have a good reputation as an oil producing state. I think you're number 8 in the world. You're a producer of oil and gas. You're very lucky to have these resources. And I count as a friend, you're the former president of OPEC and Nigerian energy minister, Mr. Lukman, who, if anyone knows, give him my best because I won't get a chance to see him. I think it's very important that you diversify your energy sources, not just be oil and gas, but renewable energy, solar, wind, clean energy, energy efficiency, biofuels. That's the future. We have to get away from just relying on oil and gas. Oil and gas is important. It's going to stay, but we have to diversify our energy sources for energy security.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Richardson. Right, I'm turning my attention now to the governors and chief executives of Ogun and Ekiti State. And we'll start off with Ekiti State because alphabetically it's first. So the governor and chief executive, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, the new spirit of regional integration, how do you think that spirit will help to stimulate investments coming in to the southwest region?
Well, thank you very much, moderator. Let me first of all start by thanking and congratulating Lagos State for once again leading the way with this economic summit. It's the second summit I've been at, and I'm consistently impressed with the quality of the summit. The regional integration drive is not a fad. It's not a fashion. It's a necessity for us. And for those of us who are really relatively poor cousins of Lagos, we need this market. And one of the ways in which to really put ourselves on the map is offering Lagos and other potential markets around us the opportunity to see what's there.
Yes.
Ekiti, as you may know, sits right in the middle of the commercial capital of this country and the administrative capital.
Yeah.
It's equidistant,
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours.
Either way.
Either way. That is in itself something to sell. Not just as a transit point, but also as a base for many of the things that can help Lagos. I was saying to the governor of Lagos as we went around the exhibition centers that he really didn't need a Ministry of Agriculture in Lagos, frankly. That he should shut that down.
And rely on yours.
We will take care of that market because we know it's a 90 billion a month market.
Yeah.
Even at the most conservative estimate of $1 a day, 160 naira a day
Yes.
for each person who lives in Lagos. We know that that's 3 billion a day.
Yeah.
And I'm even using the conservative 15 million, not the 20 million they use in Lagos. And 90 billion a month. One of the things we've been discussing with Lagos State is actually encouraging them to open up farms in Ekiti, in Osun, in some of the states that are within that regional hub that you talk about.
Okay.
And then we offer incentives to our farmers in terms of the entire value chain, the marketing, the processing, and then even if it is mile 2 market
Yes.
that Ekiti takes charge of, or mile 12 or K2 market,
Yes.
we know that we can make a massive amount of money for our farmers who would then pay taxes back home to the state.
Yes. I'm just wondering, will there be any danger, though, that if we come and buy land in Ekiti and we're farming there, will Ekiti State ever hold us to ransom, withhold our tomatoes, for instance, and we won't get any tomatoes in Lagos State?
Not at all.
Okay.
One of the really good things that has happened here, and which we see as a healthy way to go, is also the business competitiveness that the Honourable Minister talked about.
Okay.
Many of the things that have been pioneered in Lagos are also being replicated by us. We don't see it as copying what is happening.
Yes.
Excellent things must be copied. We are not apologetic about that in terms of the business climate that Razil talked about.
Yes.
For us, if you want land in Ekiti, we don't have any hesitation to give you land. But what we say is that if we give you land
Yes.
in Ekiti, the land reverts to us automatically in 12 months if you don't put it to use.
Okay.
That's the only condition.
Okay. It must be used.
It must be used because we have experience before we came into office of people taking our land, 10,000 hectares, 20,000 hectares, and then they disappeared for one reason or the other. So the land is just stuck there. It's not put to use, and yet they're going around saying we're doing biofuels there, we're doing cassava agro-processing plant there. There's so many people that we have these difficulties with. That's why we had to put that policy in place. But in terms of getting the land, you would get it within 30 days. I signed CFOs in 30, well, I don't have as many to sign as Governor Fashola, but I do that. Within 30 days, you get your CFO in Ekiti.
All right, so we move to the Governor and Chief Executive of Ogun State, Senator Ibikunle Amosu. What inspiration, sir, can you draw from this Lagos Economic Summit happening in Lagos? And I'm asking that question because some people may perceive that there is hostility between Lagos and Ogun State, especially as some perceive you were trying to deprive Lagos State of tax that it was entitled to.
Thank you. Let me start by joining others to congratulate Lagos State government and particularly my brother governor, who is our class captain. If you don't know, I think I have to say that here. He's the captain for all the ACN governors. I want to further congratulate them on the theme they've chosen for this Ehingbeti 2012. For us in Ogun State, we believe that things like this will deepen, really, democracy, because once we get it right economically, of course, it will deepen democracy. So for me, I'm very thrilled being here. Indeed, we just had our investors forum, not quite, I think about 2 or 3 weeks back.
Yes, 3 weeks ago.
Yes. But let me say this. I did not, and he said it, he mentioned it, I'm going to agree with 3 of the sectors that they've chosen.
Yes.
Of course, power, transportation is key, and of course, housing. For goodness sake, Lagos doesn't have any business saying that they want to start to farm. I told him the other time that you do not have business, agro business maybe, but when I see them telling me that this is the rice that they are producing, I said, rice, Lagos State, why? You have your job cut out. I mean, why are you trying to be both New York and New Jersey? I said, be contented with your being the New York status and let Ogun State be the New Jersey. We have the land, we can do that for you because the way they are going really, one day I came and I saw something rise. Your father, I said, wow. We went back home, I showed you, I said, don't allow Lagos again to now take this off us. That this is the way they took, you are doing, that this is the way they took your off Ogun State. So cleverly, that we will now forget. And honestly, it's like they keep us on our toes. And that is how it should be. It's a necessity that all of us must cooperate. And look at power. Power is key. If Lagos get it right, of course, we will not just be there, hands akimbo. No, we must get it right too. So every day I follow what they do. And I tell them, I call every day, I tell them that this Lagos, particularly their governor, is very clever. We have to be just one step ahead, otherwise, these people will leave us behind. So it's good, healthy competition. Look at even the area of housing. Of course, we stand to benefit hugely. There is no way they will be building. Where are they going to get the granite from? Where are they going to get the sand from? It's from Ogun State. So for all I care, I want them to be building every day. Cement, there's no other place they will get other than coming to Ogun State. We are the largest producers of cement. So it pays us. We'll just leverage that symbiotic relationship. So if Lagos gets it right, I mean, we stand to benefit hugely, as do my other brothers in the region. So for us, it's a welcome development. When you look at even transportation too, of course, we benefit hugely, except for probably I think, is it the blue or red line that you are doing now? The one that I think will even give them the much needed money, the cash grow, is to now do the red line that goes to Agbado. Look at the Redeem Belt. Look at all these border town, Denru and Co., heavily populated. Of course, we can collaborate, talk to one another, and see the possibility of driving it together. So for us, Lagos and Ogun, we are very key. I mean, that we should. It's just a necessity, it's a must. We cannot hide away from it. We just must partner with them, and that's why we're here. But I will still get to the issue of taxation.
Yes.
Because, I told you that this is my brother, because he's the class, our class captain. There are a lot of things that he's not giving us. So we sat together and said, no problems, we know we are owing you. If we are owing you, we'll pay. Up to today, we have not received a penny. They're just bullying us more or less. They have everything, but honestly, I'm happy with what they're doing. We are lashing on to those good works they're doing. For us in Ogun State, really, 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 we set the pace. But somehow, because of this federal colonies, they have this advantage over us, really. And that is why almost everything, it's now on auto drive, really. And I tell them, it has taken them about 13 years to do. And they're doing it so well. And that is a very good way for us to copy from. For me, like you said, I don't have any apology. You talk about states that get it right. If they're getting it right, so what stops us from getting it right? Even probably doing it better than what they're doing. So that is the kind of things that we seek to achieve back home. We look at what they do. Oh, we tell ourselves that look at what Lagos is doing. Even I'm following the electricity board, what they are doing with this disco thing, everything that they're running. I said, once Lagos get it, let's see how they're doing it. Let's do a better thing. For us in Ogun State, we, like I said, we want to do those things that will benefit a lot of our people back home. We cannot do it alone. For me, even in the area of agri that we are talking about, I want to talk to them that, wait a minute, we seek to feed Lagos. I've been saying it all of the time. Times were that all that they eat in Lagos comes from Idogo. Indeed, at some point in time when we are growing up during the Yonobanjo days, you will see them advertising that all these things, there's this local dialect, Mulata, Lekonio, all the things we grow there, they will not even sell it in Lagos, they must take it to, they will not, they prefer to come and bring it to Lagos because they believe that the Lagos is where the money is and what have you. We want to make sure that we resuscitate that. And that is why we are encouraging our farmers, we are subsidizing them. Big farm, we have the land. So that when we produce all of these things, of course, if they want to now take advantage of those value chain, Lagos is there to do that value addition for us. So Lagos, they're doing it so well. More of a service-based outfit. And the way they are going, they're going to hit this mega city status. They're almost there. So that they will probably be the New York or Beijing or even London. And they are doing it so well. So for us, we are here, we'll complement all their efforts because we know that there's lines benefit to us as a state. So for us, I want to commend what they're doing. regional integration is a must, as do cooperation between Ogun and Lagos. We just must be focused and be resolute about all of those. Look at what they've done on their IGR. To us in Ogun State, when we came, it was about 730. Today, we are hitting 2 billion. Even Lagos is still there. Our expectation hasn't been met because Lagos, we still have about, is it 2 billion finance? 2 billion monthly that they are owing us. So we will.
Senator Amosu, that's the danger. You see, you're asking Lagos to come and farm in Ogun, and you're still asking for that 2 billion.
No, let me explain. Maybe you don't know. Now, they put pressure on all these our infrastructure, particularly those in border towns. Indeed, my brother is here. We are together. We don't have any issues between ourselves. I think in the last count, about 47% of people that work in Lagos, they live in Ogun State. Those in the civil service of Lagos State.
But in the spirit of regionalism,
yes,
can't we just leave the 2 billion in Lagos? It's a region now, and the whole region will enjoy it.
Yeah. We will do that. We don't have issues with ourselves. We find ways of sorting it out, and he's doing a wonderful work of it. We are looking at the way they're doing it.
Thank you.
And we want to at least, even if you can improve on it, there's nothing stopping us from exactly replicating the good work they are doing. So,
thank you very much, Governor Amosu. All right, next questions to Ms. Razia Khan. Now, you've been regarded as a leading analyst on African economies. How do you see Lagos amongst the BRICS economies? Where will you place us?
Okay, well, much of the analysis this morning was about exactly where Nigeria, because I do think we need to compare sovereigns with sovereigns, might fall in terms of that analysis. Right now, if you read Jim O'Neill's latest book, he was the author of the BRICS concept, he says, they really came across the next 11, not because of any strong conviction about the growth in those countries, simply because they were the next 11 most populous countries. And what they've come to realize with the growth seen in China and India, of course, that didn't happen accidentally, it didn't happen without reforms, but a lot of it had to do with the scale of those economies. China, India, Brazil, Russia for the moment, the demographics may go the other way. These are all very populous economies. So clearly it's going to be a while before, on the assumption just of scale, any one country is going to be large enough. Currently, even of the BRICS, it's only really China that qualifies. What we need to ask is, can enough be done in the way of reform in Nigeria to accelerate growth?
Can enough be done?
The growth story isn't just about scale, it isn't just about population, which Nigeria has, but it's about a more meaningful structural transformation of the economy that allows for this economy to realize its full potential.
And what goes into that transformation that you're talking about?
Why Lagos is exciting and why a lot of investors will be focusing on Lagos is, for them, it's the realization of the potential of Nigeria. It shows that there can be growth in resources, but the really exciting opportunities may be outside of the resources sector. It shows that there can be growth that sustains itself over time because the dynamic behind the growth is different. It's about using the scale, using the population, putting it all together in a way that allows for that transformative growth to happen. And by transformative growth, we mean the enablers. What is going to allow for technological advances to be made? What is going to happen in terms of infrastructure so that 1 + 1 doesn't equal to 2, but something even greater. In Lagos, we already see a manifestation of what should be possible with future Nigerian growth, and that's what makes it exciting.
All right. So what you're saying is, what we see in Lagos should help us imagine what the whole country will be like if growth comes. I'm just trying to...
right now, the narrative on Nigeria as a whole is fairly mixed. On the one hand, there is full realization of the potential of the economy. On the other hand, with the publication earlier this year, for example, of the Nigerian Poverty Report, there's an understanding that just achieving the headline growth isn't quite enough. No. If you look at the poverty indices, probably not improving as rapidly as most policymakers would like to see, there is a full realization that more needs to be done. At least with the example of the kind of non-resources based growth that we have seen in Lagos, at least with the example of the infrastructure gains, at least with the benefits of knowing that structural transformation is possible, we start to see a little of what could be achieved by all of Nigeria.
Okay. And you know that in Nigeria, it's a unique situation that we have. There's a lot that the states can't do without the support of the federal government. What would be your advice in that kind of situation when Lagos finds itself in a place where it's stuck and can't move forward without the support of the federal government?
I think the Honourable Minister handled this very well when he spoke about the need to put in place broadly a more enabling platform. There is certainly a case for the federal government looking at where examples of economic progress are taking place, looking to see what it can do to facilitate that. And I would emphasise here that only a part of the discussion is about resources. A lot of the time, being able to accelerate growth is about not getting in the way of what needs to be done to achieve that accelerated growth. So the enabling environment, the business environment, are there regulations that make it unnecessarily difficult? Could those regulations be looked at? Do those stumbling blocks need to persist? That sort of thing.
All right. Thank you very much, Razia. Well, that's it for this week. Don't forget to join me same time, same day, same station. You never know who I'm spending 60 minutes with. Don't forget you can also like me on Facebook. That's 60 Minutes with Angela. And you can follow me on Twitter. That's Angela at 60 Minutes. I look forward to seeing you again same time next week. And I thank you for the pleasure of your company.